I will give up not one single minute of my time, but I will stick to my time. And I want to start by thanking Tun Dr. Mahathir and Tun Dr. Siti Hasma for welcoming us again to Kuala Lumpur. And I've come with awe. I feel not very comfortable because the subject, the challenge before us is so enormous. What I want to talk about during the time that I have is indeed about that war without bullets, economic sanctions. You and I think all of us, we have witnessed 13 years of a very irresponsible UN policy of an organization to which I have given my professional life. 32 years I have worked in that organization. But it was that organization that has extended a punishment to an innocent people. The world has seen 13 long and painful years of sanctions against Iraq, with all the devastation and all the death one could imagine. The exhibition in 2007 mounted here in this building attested to the unbelievable brutality comparable to what we have seen this morning. I could not stay too long. It pained me too much. I know too many of my Iraqi brothers and sisters, and I feel with them. The world is not maybe fully aware that at the time when the other war, the war of 2003, began, the Iraqi personal and national immune system was already destroyed. During the sanctions, the time when I lived in Baghdad, I could see a nation physically and mentally maimed. Also, a nation humiliated as an outcast. Why do I say this? Maybe you don't know. The Iraq government wanted to become a fully paid-up member in the United Nations, and the UN Security Council did not allow Iraq to pay its dues to prevent Iraq from participating as a full-fledged member of the United Nations. And I always must mention the Iraqi youth. The Iraqi youth is maybe the most innocent, not maybe, it is the most innocent and also the most severely punished, that has been deprived. Several generations of Iraqi young have been deprived of an education and have been deprived from preparing for a life in peace. Last time we met in this very hall, I spoke of the 50-cent scandal. Some of you may remember what I meant. A cup of coffee in Kuala Lumpur costs more than 50 cents. But it was only 50 cents that the Iraqis had at their disposal per person, per day, to survive. 50 cents. That's all they had for 6.5 years of what the United Nations called the largest ever humanitarian program. Humanitarian? What was humanitarian about it? The entire program that we implemented in Iraq during 6.5 years was financed not 90, not 95, but 100% with Iraqi money. So what was humanitarian here? The salaries of the UN staff, my salary, the cars we drove, the travel we undertook in Iraq and outside, the computers we used, the food we ate, all were financed with Iraqi money. The detractors, those who would say these people, Mr. Halliday, my predecessor, myself, they are fools. They don't understand the bigger picture. I've heard this many times, by the way. We don't understand the bigger picture. Those people point to Saddam Hussein as the colossal villain. And by doing so, if we accept that, we overlook completely the immense damage that the US and the UK governments have put on the shoulders of the Iraqis. And that, and I don't say this lightly, with the connivance, with the support, if you wish, of a helpless and hapless United Nations Security Council. I want to say here, the history, however, history has the facts. We cannot escape these facts. They exist. I must say and preface this, as a former UN official, I believe very deeply in the United Nations, and I very deeply believe in what is a much criticized book these days, the UN Charter. If it is applied properly, many of these pages have retained their importance and their values today. What is happening, and what one must conclude, is that the Iraq tragedy is an immense and miserable failure of morality, and it's an incredible disconnect with humanity. But I'm asked here to look at this entire Iraq drama from another angle, and I must do that during the time that I have left, and that is the perspective of legality. We must look together at the wrongdoing, the violation of international law. And I think this is very timely, ladies and gentlemen. It is timely because we prepare for the Kuala Lumpur War Crimes Tribunal that is in 2 days going to begin. I personally, and this is why I said in the very beginning, I come here with some discomfort, because I feel we have a chance. Will we take that chance in the effort to criminalize war, to have a trial which one day maybe history will consider as the most compelling, the most necessary trial of the 21st century? I hope so. The trial, ladies and gentlemen, is an opportunity for reflection also. About what? A reflection about the respect that we seem to have lost for law and justice, a respect for human rights. We talk a lot about human rights, and we are elegantly forgetting about human rights when we leave the halls of the United Nations General Assembly or elsewhere. And at least very much for me, it is a trial of this kind is an opportunity for cleansing the international conscience. Cleansing the international conscience, I think, is very necessary. Now you can ask, well, we have listened to you. What does this trial have to do with economic sanctions? I would argue that the 2003 invasion and occupation and 13 years of economic sanctions both have to do with welfare and protection of people. And ultimately, it is about people. It's not about goods. It's about individuals. It's about families. It's about groups. It's about nations. Both have to do, both sanctions and the invasion and the war have to do with international law. And I hope that the War Crimes Tribunal that is going to sit on the 30th of October and the 31st will accept that Iraq sanctions are not only acts of illegality, but also acts of war. The UN Charter demands that nations and the global community act in accordance with the purposes and the principles